Hi guys, my name is Tito. I make videos on personal finance, saving, and investing every Wednesday, and you really should check out some of my personal finance videos, especially if you're trying to learn how to grow your money and how to be better with your money in terms of investing and saving and that kind of stuff. I highly recommend the video titled Buying American Stocks from Nigeria with Bamboo. That was one of my best performing videos of 2020. Anyway, today though, we won't be talking about personal finance. Today I'll be reviewing a movie, and the movie I'm reviewing is a remake of the Zeb Ejiro 90s classic titled Nneka, the Pretty Serpent. That title still slaps to this day. At the beginning of this video, you'd have seen me taking a Panadol. I did that because I saw this film last night and this morning I had a headache. I'll get into that later on in this review, but for now, here's the synopsis of the remake of Nneka, the Pretty Serpent. Nneka, the Pretty Serpent is a thriller directed by Tosin Igho, and it's the story of Nneka Agu, a young woman who witnessed her parents being killed on her mother's 32nd birthday when she was officially meant to become some kind of monarch or leadership figure. Just before their demise, however, they arranged for Nneka's escape, and several decades later, just before Nneka herself turns 32 and is destined to become the new monarch or leadership figure, she joins forces with the spirit of a character simply known as Queen Mother to seek revenge on the people that plotted to kill her parents almost 30 years ago. One night, a serpent spirit inhabits Nneka, giving her supernatural powers and making her a snake woman. Just kidding. It gives Nneka some creepy powers like astral communication, mind control, supernatural strength, and healing abilities. Now, just to let you guys know that throughout this review, I will be muting certain words to comply with YouTube's rules and regulations on violence and language. Now, there's so much to talk about regarding this film. It's a Play Network Studios movie, and you know they brought us Living in Bondage 2, as well as Rattlesnake about a month ago. And if you saw my Rattlesnake review, you will know that it's about to go down. But that said, I need to say a couple of things first. First of all, please like this video by clicking on the like button. I would really appreciate it. In typical YouTuber fashion, please like the video by clicking on the like button and subscribe to my channel if this kind of content or my personal finance kind of content is your cup of tea. Also, disclaimers, this review will contain spoilers. So if you haven't seen Nneka the Pretty Serpent, please go out and see it in the cinemas and then come back and watch this review. I really do encourage you going to the cinemas to see it first before watching this review. I don't want to turn you off about the film. So please see it first, then watch this review, unless you don't mind hearing a bunch of spoilers. But I do encourage you to see it first. Finally, if you're a member of the cast or crew of Nneka the Pretty Serpent and you're watching this, please do not take my words to heart. Remember that my opinions or the things that I'll say are just my views and my opinions, and I'm just a random guy on YouTube, so don't take them to heart, don't let them hurt you, and I will also try my best to be considerate and thoughtful. I realize that your film is something that was lots of resources were spent or expended to create this film, probably cost lots of sleepless nights, and it would be unfair for someone like me to just rip it apart in a review. So yes, I will be thoughtful. Don't take my words to heart. That said and done, let's dive into the review, beginning with Idia's performance as Nneka. When I heard that Idia Aisien would be playing in Nneka, I was quite surprised because, like many people, I don't think we'd ever heard of Idia Aisien acting before. Like many people, we knew Idia to be a TV presenter, and a really good one for that matter. But when I heard that she was going to play Nneka, I wasn't too upset by it because obviously for anyone who would be playing the lead character in Nneka the Pretty Serpent, she'd have to be very attractive and her beauty would have to be almost otherworldly. And I mean, if you've seen Idia Aisien, she's a stunner. She turns lots of heads whenever she walks into a room. I know the few times that I've seen her out and about town, she made my head do a 360 a few times. But I digress. Where was I? She is quite fine. So yes, I wasn't upset hearing that Idia would be playing Nneka. So that looks requirement was satisfied or filled. The question now was, could Idia act? And I think she did a decent enough job in the film because bear in mind, this was her first acting gig, especially like in a starring role. And it was a bit of a physical role, and I also don't think Idia is a native Igbo speaker. So given those circumstances, I think she pulled it off. She did a decent enough job. I mean, I don't expect award nominations personally, but I think she delivered. And I feel like a few people would object with me on that point, but I think she did a decent enough job. And what a lot of people also don't know about this film is that back in March of 2020, just before the lockdown, Play Networks actually held auditions in Lagos, Owerri, and Abuja for who would play or to cast the lead role in this film. I don't know if Idia actually went for the auditions, but she got the role, and I'm not mad at it. And saying that they cast back in March, it means that this film was shot, I don't want to say it was shot during lockdown, so I want to assume it was shot after lockdown. And which is a surprise because I didn't hear anything about the production of this film up until November after Rattlesnake came out, and I was impressed by that. It's actually good. I don't like seeing the behind the scenes stuff as it's happening when they're shooting a movie. I like the BTS footage and the hype to come out just before the movie comes out, not while they're actually shooting the movie. So kudos to Play Networks on that one. The performances. As is typical with Play Network Studios films now, it had a star-studded cast of new Nollywood and old Nollywood. New Nollywood heavyweights like Kenneth Okoli, who played Tony, Nneka's love interest, and Bimbo Ademoye, who played Ada, Nneka's best friend, with also Beverly Naya, Beverly Osu, Larry Gaga, Waje. So those were like the new Nollywood actors. The old Nollywood heavyweights were people like Zach Orji, Kepi Ekpeyong, Sani Muazu, Shafi Bello, Charles Inoje, and the original Nneka herself from the 90s version, Ndidi Obi. The performances were just average, in my opinion, to be honest. There wasn't that much character development as usual, as it happens with these Play Network Studios films. And it felt like a few of the casting or the choices were a bit unnecessary. I don't want to name names, but it felt like some people were casting this movie just because. And I mean, I'm not really mad at that. I'm not upset by it because, hey, it's your movie, cast whoever you want to cast, put your friends in it, do whatever you like. But try and ensure that those performances or those roles or those characters have a bearing with the rest of the film. There were characters in this film who, if you took them out of the entire film, you wouldn't notice, that they were there. They didn't have that much of an impact, or maybe even not any impact at all in the film. Let me just leave it at that, because if I continue, I will name names. Now, Bovi was also in the movie, and he played a police investigator who was like investigating the crimes that were happening in the movie. And his scenes, a couple of his scenes, were the few times that the audience like reacted positively while seeing the film. I think he made us chuckle a couple of times. And he also did have a fight scene with Nneka, and that wasn't too bad. It looked pretty decent for a fight scene. And so yeah, basically Bovi tried as well. The flaws. Now, while the flaws in this film were numerous, they weren't as annoying to me as the loopholes in Rattlesnake. And the writing in Nneka the Pretty Serpent seemed to be a little better. The acts seemed to follow sequentially from one act to the other. What worked against them in this movie was the fact that they didn't pay attention to detail. For instance, and there were many instances, like I said, one that really stuck out to me was the fact that Tony, Nneka's boyfriend, lots of people in his life were dropping dead in the space of a few weeks or months. The recruiter, his boss, who recruited him in the new organization where he worked, he died. Then the CEO of his office or his organization, she died. Then his uncle was also killed. Then the police investigator who was investigating all these deaths was killed by Nneka in Tony's own home. I'll come back to that. Then Tony's own dad also committed suicide, all in the space of a few weeks or months. And Tony was very unbothered about the whole thing. He was going about his life, loving up on Nneka and planning to settle down with her. And it wasn't that Nneka placed a curse, put a spell on him such that he wouldn't see all these things happening. I feel like he should have been way more distraught and suspicious with all these activities happening in his life. And of course, he didn't know that Nneka was the one killing all these people. Coming back to the police inspector that was killed by Nneka in Tony's own home in broad daylight. One would think that if a police investigator or inspector rather, who was investigating a bunch of murder cases, all of a sudden disappears, you would think that the Nigerian police force would, they'd be up in arms about it. They'd intensify the investigation and the attention on that case, and they'd try and get to the bottom of it. After that police investigator was killed, there was no other policeman in that whole movie. And it was just weird. It could have easily been traced who killed the police investigator, he took an Uber to Tony's house in the middle of the day. Last, you could have, traced the Uber and where the Uber took him to, and the pieces would have just fallen right in place. But, Nneka killed him, broad daylight, in Tony's home. The whole circumstance behind that stuff was just way off. So the details, all those little things, there were so many of them. Honestly, I could go on and on for another 10 minutes talking about the lack of attention to detail that was paid in this movie. Another thing was the whole dynamic, the relationship dynamic between Nneka and Tony. The whole relationship from the first scene when we're introduced to Tony seemed off. When you watch it, you'll feel like, am I missing something? What's going on here? Their relationship just didn't seem natural. Things just kept on happening in a very weird way. It felt like the filmmakers expected us, the audience, to fill in the blanks. That whatever, we feel like there's a question mark, wherever we feel there's a question mark, we should fill it with an answer on our own. Which was just, it happened multiple times in this movie, and the flaws were numerous in this film. Now, another flaw, or should I say more of a letdown actually, was the first kill, Nneka's first kill, which was Larry Gaga's character. And they actually built up to that scene. And then when we now get to that scene, Nneka bites him in the neck, and then he overpowers her and they have a tussle. But then that's it. We don't see how Nneka actually finishes him off. And, typically in these films where, the killer carries out their first, you see how it happens and it's a big deal and it's, riveting. But we didn't get to see that. We just saw the beginning of it, but we didn't see the conclusion. And like I said, they built up to that moment just to not show us the moment at the end of the day. What did I like about Nneka the Pretty Serpent? What I didn't like about this movie. What I didn't like about this film was how it felt like it was, I don't know if it felt like it was rushed, because even if they did have time, they may have still made these mistakes. No, I felt like it was rushed because if they took their time, people in-house, within their team would have seen several of these loopholes and these lapses and may have been able to fix them before the movie came out. But for them to just rush these movies and to just put something together and put it out, it feels a bit patronizing, or is it patronizing? And it feels like an insult to the intelligence of the audience. Although, to be fair, lots of audience members in Nigeria and in Africa at large don't really care much for detail and, a story making sense. The average audience member, in my opinion, not like you find people that are watching this review, the average moviegoer, cinema goer, or audience member in Nigeria just wants to see big stars. They want to have a good laugh, and then they want to see a little bit of romance. If you give them those three things, they're good. They don't really care much for a story making sense or for the finer detail in a movie. And I think maybe the movie makers know this, and that's why they produce films like this sometimes. And it's hurtful. I think there is a way that you can make a film that appeals both to the pedestrian cinema goer as well as the deep thinker and the intellectual movie goer as well. There was a scene in the final act of this film that really I felt insulted. It was when Nneka, for whatever reason, drugs Tony, her boyfriend, takes him to the beach side, drags him there, and the whole idea is that she needs to be stabbed in the heart while she is one with the Queen Mother in order for her to be able to kill the Queen Mother once and for all. But of course, if she were to do that, Nneka herself would definitely die being stabbed in the heart. So Tony comes out of his unconscious state and they have this tussle, and she manages to get him to stab her in the heart, and it's supposed to get rid of the Queen Mother. I think she dies. But somehow, Nneka herself, who was stabbed in the heart, does not die. I was like, wow. In fact, all of us in the cinema were like, wow, really? Seriously? The Living in Bondage connection. As expected, Ramsey Noah shows up in this film as Richard Williams, the character from Living in Bondage 2, and tries to recruit Nneka into the Six and tells her that he's the reason why she has her powers. It was expected, like I said in my Rattlesnake review, that Ramsey Noah will probably be popping up in all these Play Network movies. He'll be popping up trying to recruit people like Nick Fury did in the Avengers and Marvel movies, and Charles of Play himself will be popping up making cameos like Stan Lee did in the Marvel movies as well. Nothing wrong with it. I wish them luck in terms of pulling this off. What would have really been impressive in this film would have been if one of the key characters from Rattlesnake, the Ahana story, showed up in Nneka, the Pretty Serpent. Maybe if maybe Ahana himself and Nze were having a meeting in Nneka's bar/lounge. If we saw that, we would have been impressed. We would have been like, okay, they're really trying to tie in all these movies together towards a greater movie in future. These are the little details, that if one gave thoughts to the whole bigger picture and to each film, it would have impressed the audience members. But hey, I guess we're all figuring it out as we go, aren't we? My conclusion is that I didn't hate this film, funny enough. I enjoyed it more than Rattlesnake, that's for sure. But the reason may be because I'm probably a bit biased. First of all, because of the attractive female lead of this film, and also probably because I reduced my expectations greatly after seeing Rattlesnake a month ago. I also have to say that I left out a key portion of this film from this review. There's something that happens in the film, a major twist that I didn't talk about in this review because I actually do want you to go and see it. And I feel like this is one of those films that regardless, you are going to watch it sometime, some way. And I still want you to have that element of surprise when you do see it, which is why I left this particular important piece of the movie out of my review. When you do see it, I hope you appreciate the fact that I did that. And who should see Nneka the Pretty Serpent? See Nneka the Pretty Serpent if you're the kind of moviegoer who likes all those films where someone does like this and someone falls under a spell. If that's your jam, then you'll probably enjoy this film. I know mothers who watch Africa Magic, they'll probably enjoy this film when it eventually gets on Africa Magic. And that's another thing. I think this film will actually do well on Africa Magic because it feels different when you're watching a film like this on Africa Magic with your DSTV or your GoTV subscription than when you pay out of pockets for a cinema ticket to see it in the cinema. It feels like in the cinema the expectations are much higher, but I do believe it will do well on Africa Magic. Hopefully after watching this review, you know how I feel about this film. If there wasn't a camera in my face and I spoke my mind about this film, it would have been a different review altogether. But I do like to support Nollywood. I feel like 2020 was a peculiar year. 2020 was a real big chance for Nollywood films to do well because lots of American studios pushed back their movies to 2021 and 2022 because of what was going on in the world, thereby giving Nollywood films in Nigeria the chance to really shine and not compete with bigger films in the cinema, particularly in the final quarter of 2020. But incidentally, Nneka the Pretty Serpent is up against a very big film, Wonder Woman 2, and it may be a bit tough at the cinema for Nollywood films for the rest of December, which is why I'm trying my best to not run this movie down and to try and get people to try and see it. Not that, not that I've been paid off or anything like that. I wish I was offered money. But I digress, guys. Do what you gotta do. Thank you for watching this review. If you enjoyed it, please like it by clicking on the like button. It's very important. Whenever you watch my videos, please just at the beginning, just like my videos, click on the like button. And remember, I don't just do movie reviews. You can watch my other movie reviews. There's a card in the corner of the screen to where you can watch my other reviews. My channel is more about personal finance videos. A bunch of my personal finance videos will be showing on the screen right now. These are my best videos of 2020. So take your pick and watch any of them or all of them. And yeah, come back every Wednesday to watch my personal finance videos, and feel free to share this review with anyone who you feel may benefit from it as well. Share any of my videos that you feel people will benefit from. On a final note, guys, thank you so much for watching. I'm rambling. Let me end it here. I will see you in the next one. Take care.